love a quick project, one that you can use again and again. You know the kind where the more you make, the more uses you find for them. I mean, these little things I've got here, they're great as a gift. They're great as a usable everyday item. They're simple to make, and best of all, they are a joy to use. They really are. Let's get stuck in. First one is that. Cute, huh? It's really, really simple. I can show you how to do it so quickly, and we're going to finish that one off in a second. Then I have this little one, and I have this one last. So the first one that I wanted to show you, honestly, this is just, it's a great project for scraps, obviously, but it's also a great project for using things up that I wouldn't otherwise use. So this, look, a couple of bits of blanket. As you can see, I've already cut one out there, which was the shape that I used for that. This blanket, I love it, and you know, it's really, really handy, but I'm honestly never going to use those colours. Look at them. They're pretty garish, to be honest, aren't they? So let me just show you really, really quickly. All we need is a circle. Draw that out, and then draw a smaller one inside it. Guys, before I continue, I've just spent a whole day worrying about uploading this video on my little channel. Should I or shouldn't I? Because the way I've made one of these projects isn't miles away from the way that Sarah from Roxy Creations by Sarah has made hers. And this isn't a copy of hers. It's how I made my first one when I was about, I don't know, 9 years old, something like that, with my mum. However, the last thing I want to do is step on anybody's toes. So if you want to check out her videos too, please do so. Here's her channel name and also her sister's. I mean, hopefully you guys will be able to pick up, you know, a few ideas from all of us and put your own spin on it anyway to come up with some really unique little bowls and baskets of your own. I just didn't want to upset anybody. So please check out these two channels, all right? Now, I have seen, I made a couple of these a long time ago and then came back to them recently. Do you do that sometimes? You you know, make something because you want to work out how to do it, and then you leave it there, probably 3/4 finished in my case, and I just, you know that I need to embellish it a little bit more or whatever. And then sometimes I'll pick up something else because there's just so many things you want to try all the time, aren't there? So many different projects that we need to be making. So I did this one, and I honestly, I think it's one of those things that I could just have hundreds of, and I'm definitely going to keep making them. So with a ruler of some kind, okay, that's about the centre. I'm going to mark, yeah, some sort of quarter points, and then I think I'll put 2 more on this size. I'll put 2 more in between each. You can be a little bit more fastidious about it if you like, but this has always worked for me, just doing it really simply and quickly like this. So first off, I'm just going to put a stitch in the middle, I think. In fact, might as well make a little cross in it. So now I can take the pins out. That's the main reason I wanted it there, really. Just so I'm not working around the pins. Okay, and now we cut. Keep cutting around the edges. Now I did see a while ago, like I say, I'd already made these ages ago, and then when I saw, I think it was the Roxy sisters, Roxy Creations and Roxy Creations by Sarah. I hope that I've got your names right, girls. And they did something similar. I think Sarah was making bowls which were a little bit more refined than this, to be honest. They, you know, they were stitched around things properly. So when they did their baskets, I think it was Rachel that made one, a bowl. I think she's probably made lots. I don't remember too well because it wasn't recent, but I think she made a bowl where she just sort of, you know, cut around it relatively quickly, like me here. And so anyway, go to their channels. Definitely go to their channels. I'd be surprised if you guys aren't already watching them, to be honest, because they're lovely. They're just lovely to listen to. They seem like such really nice people, the sort of people that you'd absolutely, you know, want to go to one of their classes. So I just, I guess what I like is the fact that it's not overcomplicated, you know, you're just manipulating the piece of fabric. I don't think they were using blanket, but it would have been something quite similar, I'm sure. So can you see what I'm doing? Like, I'm just putting one piece in. All right, so that one's in, then that one goes over the top this side. All right, and I'm going about midway. Can you see that? And then this one goes inside, about midway, and a pin. And this one, the last one, that one needs to go into there. All right, so you do need an even number of cuts, because otherwise you'll come a cropper when you try to put them together like this. But you can see, look, that's a bowl shape already, isn't it? And I just think it's amazing how, you know, it's really quite sturdy, and it certainly will be by the time we've put our fabric over the top. So you can see it, can't you? It's already taking shape. Literally all I did was I took, so this one here, don't forget, so I just took pieces. Now when I was planning to do it, I was going to put lots and lots of patches on, and actually when I came to do it, I think I ended up putting strips on, because it was quite easy and they sort of held together nicely. So grabbed a strip like this, and I was kind of wrapping it round. So before I do the actual wrapping, I think I'm just going to put these together a little bit just to hold them in. All right, so really simple. Say before when I did it, I think I actually probably used a back stitch or something, and that was fine. But I just don't think it was necessarily worth, you know, spending any real time on. So I'm literally going to go through, and again, the only reason I'm stitching this is so that I can get rid of the pins, because they'll just be annoying when we're trying to work in a minute, that's all. Now I started to use, what have I used mine for in the past? Gift boxes. I like to use these as like a little kind of, you know, little gift pouch, and then you can put something in the middle as your actual gift. I'm sure I've mentioned before that in my family we tend to give each other you know, sewing supplies and things like that quite often. Well, whatever you're giving somebody, jewellery and things like that, you know, these I think are really good as little gift baskets, because then you're not wasting the wrapping. I hate wasting wrapping. Hate it, hate it, hate it. It's a bit of an obsession, and I mean, you know, not in a good way. It kind of slows me down from using things sometimes. Right, okay, so on this one, look, you can see how here I've just wrapped. So let me take that one out. Okay, can you see how I'm just wrapping it round? So that one in there. Don't worry about getting everything neat for a minute. Just wrap that one around there, all the way around the other side, and in there. And then sew a few bits together. So that one's ready to go in a minute. As always, a couple of needles with my thread in already. You know how much I hate to run out of thread. I just don't like the starting and stopping of having to do that all the time. Okay, so I've got these little pieces here, look. Alright, so just, you could pin them again if you wanted. Pin them around a bit. The idea is to have lots of little sort of patchwork pieces. So what you mustn't do is make these too big. So you see here, that's quite big, isn't it, for that? So I'm actually going to make it smaller. Tear it so that we get the nice rough edges. But if you make it too big, then it's not going to go around the bowl. It's going to really hamper you. So, and then you'll end up with folds, and you know, it just won't be very enjoyable to make, that's all. So you want this to stay quite straight. All right, so we'll tuck that one over there. Now you see here, it did look a bit rough, but it doesn't matter, because you're literally folding it over like that. All right, and then another piece of stripe on there. And so now I can start moving these a little bit, look. All right, because that one's going to be covering there as well. On the other one, I was using bigger patches at first, or bigger strips. at first, but because I've made this one a little bit smaller, it just seems like this is a little bit easier on this size, that's all. So strips, strips, strips. I should watch that video again actually, shouldn't I? You know, the one I was saying about just now with the, well, there were several videos I think with the Roxy girls, because I don't know how similar they are. I know, yeah. So, in case this is, you know, too similar, I think you should absolutely watch their videos. I say it's something that I did a long time ago, but I'm just kind of enjoying doing it again. It must have been something my mum showed me. She showed me all sorts of little things like this over the years. Loads and loads and loads. She just sewed, oh, I don't know, she sewed forever. Okay, so you see how it's just going around. Now on this one, it'll be quite nice, look, to have all these pieces around here, and yet have the bottom just as a plain bit still. So it'll be quite nice, won't it, going around there. Alright, this fabric is one that I was dyeing and you know, roughing up and trying to make it more, not antique, obviously it's never going to be antique, but it went from this bright white, which is actually brighter than that one, to these lovely muted tones. It feels so soft, and when I did that, I used them on a couple of other things as well. So these were some of the other ones I used them on. Do you remember? You might not have watched these in past videos. So these actual pieces here, I was taking inspiration from books. So I looked at books, looked at the pages and looked at the sort of composition and copied them a little bit. Not because I wanted it to be exactly the same, and certainly they're not. It was just to give me ideas of, you know, when you have a blank page. Anyway, it was nice and easy. So now this one, I just put some little ties, as you can see, look, and put them as a hanger, which is, and I like that. This might seem a strange thing to put in there, but I have lots of these, you know, these old sort of manuscripts. They're so lovely. They're usually house deeds and land deeds and things, aren't they? So lovely. But I put it in there first of all just to sort of keep it straight, so stop it crumpling. And actually, I quite like that. If I'm going to have a wall hanging of any kind, I still like it to do something, like it to have a, you know, a sort of a practical purpose as well. So keeping things like this in it. The only thing is, now that I'm doing it in front of the camera, I don't know, it feels a little bit like, you know, those toilet holders or toilet roll holders that you get. That's what it's reminding me of right now. So little tiffles there, look. But anyway, they worked out, you know, quite well, I thought. But one of my comments on the video that I did it, somebody said, oh, I'd like to see it when you finished. Well, I've kind of finished. So that hanging is absolutely finished. This one, I'm not sure. I think I might make a journal cover or something with it. So it's finished as far as that's concerned. The only thing that's not, you know, 100% on it is the size. That's why I've not cut it down. But these were using, as I say, these the fabrics that I'd cut down, and of course a little button case. My favourites. I love a button case. I love a needle case, anything like that. And also I've always got these cards and things in them, haven't I? So that was what I did with them. That's what I made with them. And they really are very, very, just really, really, really enjoyable to make. So watch that video later if you feel like it. It's funny really how things go round, isn't it? Because, yeah, I can definitely remember Mum showing me how to do this bit of the basket, you know, sort of pinching it together and things. But covering it like this, I can't remember how we used to do it. Perhaps we didn't. Perhaps we used to just, we probably didn't actually. I think I remember now. Right, so we wouldn't have had two pieces necessarily. We would have used whatever we had. I remember this pinching method. I think we just used to put something over the top. It was probably ribbon or something actually. Don't have any here at the minute. So it would probably have been just quite plain like that. That's what we did. And then we just put it around there like that. So although, you know, there are lots of versions of how to do things, aren't there? This bit of actually you know, putting the sort of scraps around it like this. You know, full credit to Roxy Creations for that, because I love it. I remember the you know, the feel of it before, but yeah, I'm sure we didn't put little scraps like this around, because back then things were a bit neater. You know, when you're you try and make it neat anyway, but it's not particularly when you're a child, was it? But yeah, definitely it would have been like that going around, and we'd have had to make much more, you know, lots more stitches neatening this all up. So this, I've got to admit, I much prefer. Yeah, it just went round like that then, look. So if I had a piece that was the full width of it, look, that's how ours used to turn out. But I much prefer the way that Roxy Creations did hers a while ago, with all the little snippets. And she has, I think she makes printables, doesn't she, of, well, things that you can print out onto fabric or paper, obviously, but using designs from old antique fabrics and things. Absolutely beautiful. I love her pages, what she does there. Anyway, it's back to these. Yeah, going around on that one then, I've kind of done that on here, and then I started going a little bit more haphazard. Then I just took, you see that one, look, that piece there just needs finishing off, and I started being really bold with my stitches. Completely up to you, obviously, whether you do them, you know, nice and tiny and neat, or if you want them to really stand out a little bit. And I decided that I wanted it looking, it sounds a bit odd probably, it was like a rag doll was the effect that I wanted, because I wanted it to feel, and it does, because there are a couple of layers rather than just one fat one, 2 thinner layers. It just makes it feel, I don't know, just like I say, like a bit like a rag doll. Really is lovely. Gosh, the state of my fingernails and things are really bad at the minute, isn't it? I'm gardening at the minute. The weather here in Cornwall is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's spring now, and as usually happens, as soon as the weather decides it's going to be spring, you know, it really is with vengeance. So I'm outside doing loads of bits and pieces, and, you know, as you do every year, upcycling a few more things, and hopefully going to a car boot tomorrow. I have a few things in mind that I'd like to buy there, or at least look out for anyway, again for the garden. So we'll see what happens. At the minute I'm doing lots of things outside, and I'm sowing some seeds in the porch, which means every time I walk through the porch I can't help but play with them a little bit, which means every time I go through the porch to go in and out of the house to work or whatever, I'm always meddling with them. I'm, you know, feeling the soil, and I'm seeing how they've grown, and actually they've grown brilliantly. The seeds have started off so well. So I'm delighted. You know what it's like when you see new life. It's just, oh, it's magical, isn't it? So let me just finish this one really quickly. You can see how quickly the pieces go on, can't you? And this is a brilliant sort of lap job, and as long as you have your colours and things, you know, your piece of fabric sorted out beforehand, then it's quite a good one to do in the evening light even, isn't it? Hide that in there. Did one side at a time. So like on that one, I would stitch around here first, and then literally turn it inside out, and then do the other side. And then when you come to that point, you're like, oh, okay, which side shall I use? I'm not sure. Honestly, it feels so lovely. It really does. It is like a rag doll for grown-ups. So that one there, all I've done then is finished it off with some little pieces. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, I don't seem to have any more. I must have used them all. Yeah. Here, look, are just some little pieces of felt from here, because I'd made this basket beforehand. So I had, when you come to make this, you have little squares left. So I've been using little squares, look, to go around there. And then, of course, as always, I've added some little buttons. So a really lovely one. I recommend you try that one. What did I have in it? Yeah. All right, because it's just lovely. Now on the table, I mean, I could use that on the, you know, on the dinner table even, couldn't I? If you had, I don't know, a jug or something in it, you know, fine. I wouldn't want to wash it too much, but certainly it could put up with some hand washing, couldn't it? Other than that, I could put any little scraps. I could put so many things in it. And as I say, it's a gift basket. Brilliant. Imagine that with just some like tiny little Easter eggs, you know, really small ones. Wouldn't that just be lovely for an adult to give them that with those tiny eggs in? Just beautiful. Anyway, that was the first one. And the second one, well, okay, so these here, I love this. As I say, it's quite strong. So it's just one of those rope bowls. But this one here I made on the sewing machine. And there are days when I just don't want to put on any sort of electric, you know, I just want to do everything by hand. So I thought I would try this one this way with a jar. So you can see my intention here. It doesn't have to be old Dolmio, although I do recommend Dolmio, love it. So I put the bag on first so that I could put sticky tape all over it. And we did that so that I could pull it off afterwards nice and easily. Now, you know the usual way of doing it, of, you know, twisting your fabric to make it into a rope and putting it around. Well, I was doing that and it was being held down with this tape, and then I was going along afterward. Let me show you there. I'm just stuck to it. Going along afterward and just stitching the pieces in, look. So you can see that this is a little bit laborious, but I was able to do it, you know, just on my lap or on a table without the sewing machine. The only trouble with this is that because these are quite thick, actually getting the needle in and out wasn't as easy on my hands, you know. So after a little while, actually, I wanted to give up and go and do something else and then just come back to it another time. So I am going to try this again another time. It certainly, you know, works what I'm doing, but it's not half as easy as it would be with a machine. So I think what I'm going to do is, yeah, it is hard on my hands. So I'm going to show you that one another time properly, I think. What I will probably do is do a few more on the machine. And, you know, I love using my little hand singer. But obviously you can't do it with these bowls because you need to be able to move this around. You need both your hands actually on your project there. I couldn't be winding at the same time. A treadle one would be fine, obviously. I just don't have one of those. But if you have a treadle one, you could do that as well. But they're just amazingly robust. So the other thing I wanted to show you quickly today, all these lovely bits here, look, is this one. So this is my main one that I'm going to keep doing lots of. It is just a basket. So I've only put these bits in because, you know, it's Easter soon, and so I've made a few of these for friends and people. So these are ones that I actually had I made up a while ago, little PDF patterns for these. It's on Etsy if you want to find it. I'll put a link in the description. But very soon, hopefully, I'll be able to put them on my own website. So you'd be able to have a look at it there and decide if it was something that you wanted to buy. But colour-wise and everything, because I knew that I wanted to use this, you see. I love this felt. So this is, I don't know what percentage, but it's a high percentage of wool. So, you know, like the blanket that I was talking about earlier. I mean, this is lovely and it's brilliant for inside things. But this, because it has so much, I don't know, I mean, these are wool as well, aren't they? But, oh, it's beautiful anyway. So I would recommend, if you're going to use felt, if it's not for, you know, children to just play around with, and it's something you're going to make and use and keep for a while, do look out for the proper felt with a high percentage of wool. All right, you can get it online and you can get it from some shops. I don't find it that easy to get hold of, so when I did get hold of it, I actually bought quite a bit of it, and it was in a shop. I think, was it in the shop in Totnes that I found it? I think so. Okay, so for this, look, this is just, let me take these bits out because these were just how I'm going to use it. But obviously, you'll have your own ideas for how you want to use it. It's literally just a little basket that you can flatten. And that's the other thing that I like about it, because like for a gift basket, it's lovely to be able to flatten it down, isn't it, for next time. And I can't imagine if you gave somebody a gift in this. So what I would do is, you know how I had it just now with the hair in there, the hairs, I would just put a big ribbon, something maybe even like this sort of width, you know, I would just tie that around it like that. And if it wasn't quite long enough, well, what I'd probably do actually is put it like that, and then these bits I would put a big pin in, or I'd put like a brooch in it or something like that. You know, then that's all part of the gift as well, isn't it? So you can still see what's in it, but somebody still has to unwrap it. All I did was I drew out, so I just drew out a square, and then I drew out the same width all around. Say I made this, I don't know, you know, 6 inches or whatever, and then I would do another 2 inches all around. Just literally drew it out, and then I cut out the corners, as you can see. And these corners are these bits. That's what I used for there. So cut that out and then lay it on your fabric. Okay, 2 pieces of fabric. I pinned them together first so that they wouldn't be too different from one another. As sometimes happens when you draw them separately. So I've done that. Then I've pinned them, made sure they were pinned together, and then I've made, can you see, look, I've actually made this cardboard a little bit smaller. So I've cut it down all around, and then I've cut just a tiny bit off these edges as well. You want this felt to be just a little bit proud. Alright, so cut it around like that. Now, I wasn't all that accurate in cutting that bit, I'll be honest, but you know, it's still working, it's absolutely fine. Don't throw this because we're going to use it. Before you go too far, again, I'm using the same fabrics that I was using before these. So, I say that they feel really nice, they really, really do. So I really recommend you just have a look at that video if you want to make your fabrics less new, a bit more antique or vintage looking. So from this I tore off a few strips. Look, I wanted them to be quite rough on this one. Alright, but I'll also show you, look, on this one it's a slightly different one. So I actually used a scarf. So this is a scarf that I've had for quite a while. I've used it, you know, I've worn it for a long time, but it definitely has, again, some like wool or something in it. Anyway, it tears really nicely, and because it's a kind of ombre, you know, I'll be able to use it for several different projects, I think. So I've literally just torn strips off this one, and they frayed as they were going, so that was absolutely fine. So that's the one I'm using on there. But because this was so much smaller and I wanted to bring the blue into it, I've just torn off some strips and sort of done that to try and make them a bit more kind of rope-like, you know, so they're not flat. And then pinned them in here. Now, I cannot I cannot stress how much this needs to be done at this stage. Alright, so you put one in along each edge. Don't wait until later to do this. Do this now, okay? Obviously it's the voice of experience here saying that. So then all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these pieces off separately. So, and yes, they're actually kitchen scissors that I use for cutting up, I know, sort of bags and things like that. They're definitely not sewing ones. These are my nice fabric ones. So I'm just cut them all off. Alright. And then we want to poke them back in here, don't we? So in the centre, you can go, and then this is also going to go in here, but the reason I separated it is because I want to sew in between here. Alright, so we'll keep that like that and that like that. Take our needle with the biggest knot. It must be that one. Is that the biggest knot you've ever seen? I mean, that's a ridiculous size, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. However, it's the messiest knot I've ever done, probably. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to start in here, and I'm going to stitch along this here. So I want to go along this line, alright? Having a look at the back, they're still tiny. Don't worry about where your cardboard is for a minute, as long as it's still in there. Alright, so just run it along there. I'm going to get to here, to the corner. Just going to turn and go along the next edge. Now this bit doesn't really take that long, to be honest. I mean, if you wanted, then of course you could, you know, take the cardboard out and just put it in on your last side there before you stitch that up. But I know what I'm like, and I get in a world of my own, and I make all these plans, you know, to make it sort of really straightforward, really easy, and then I just forget them and go along my merry way. So that's why I still have them in here, just so I don't forget to put them in and sew around without it, that's all. So how many of you guys then are in your gardens at the minute? Obviously it depends where in the world you are, but I know there are quite a few people who watch from the States and quite a few people from Australia as well as the UK. So we're all going to be in different seasons maybe, but still. I mean, I'd say I'm doing lots of little upcycle bits and things like that, and you know, would you be interested if I put the camera rolling while I do those sort of things? I could talk about what I do outside and, you know, in the garden that all day. I can easily rabbit on about it, but there are definitely things that you could, you know, it's just so good to share ideas, isn't it? And there definitely will be things there that you'll think, oh, I never thought of that, the same way that I do when I see what other people have done. So if you fancy watching what I'm getting up to in the garden, then just put a quick comment down. All right. Right, so in here, where's my, right, so these all belong to that. Which one was the one in here, and which one was my new one? So I've made these strips really long, okay? I've made them 1, 2, 3, okay? So that we have lots to tie, and then we can always cut it off a little bit at the end. So that's something that I never used to do. You know, I used to worry so much about using every little inch of fabric. I never wanted to waste anything, and now I've realised that, you know, not only does it make the job less frustrating, so it's just literally more enjoyable to make it, and why not, but also, you know, all these little bits, you still use them, don't you? Even if I have like a couple of bits of this, I will still use them somewhere. Especially in slow stitching, it's really funny, isn't it? Because if you're slow stitching or if you're journaling or whatever, you realise that scrap's a bit of a funny word, really. There is no such thing as a scrap. But what is a scrap? Is a scrap just a small piece of fabric? I mean, it's certainly not something that would go in the bin otherwise, is it? Nothing goes in the bin. Right, so along here then, I'm just going to quickly, I mean, whatever sort of stitch you fancy doing, really. All right, so this piece here is pretty much, you know, the right size for there, but this is going to be a little bit smaller, isn't it? And the reason for that is because we want this to be able to bend here easily. All right, because obviously if we have this piece, this one, and this cardboard all the same size, then when we turn it up, it's going to, if I do it like that, it's going to make this one bigger, and then it'll, you know, gradually get smaller as it goes outwards. But if we leave a little bit of leeway in there, that's not going to be a problem. So yeah, whatever kind of stitch, whatever edging stitch you like to do over here. You could do whip stitch, you could do any sort of edging really, sort of diagonal as it goes through to the back. All right, just make sure you're keeping it neat on this side and the other side still. I'm going to make sure that I stitch this bit in really well. A few extra bits because this is the bit that's going to tie, isn't it? All right, so I'm going to carry on around here. I don't want to bore you to death, so if I bore you to death, there'll be nobody to watch my videos, will there? So this is what we ended up with. Okay, so as you see, I've gone around there, and I can feel, I don't know if you can see, so the cardboard on this one, right, on this one, look, the cardboard ends there, and then the cardboard begins there, so I have this, it's only a few mil, all right, but it's enough that when I close it up, it just stays quite neat. So as you can see, I've used a couple of these as patches on here. I've pinned this bit down here, but I mean, you don't need to, do you? It was just what I was, thinking of using it for. So these bits, look. Okay, I'm literally tying them and bowing them, and that's it. Now, obviously, when you've made your first one, you'll decide, oh yeah, actually my next one, I'd like these sides to be higher or lower or whatever, and you'll also, when you come to do that, think about how you're going to use it. You can get similar patterns, well I guess you can get patterns for them, you must be able to, you can get patterns for everything, where they don't take out this fabric here, they leave it, so it means that when you do this, it's kind of like puffed in the corner here, and I just didn't want that bit. I wanted it to lie nice and flat when I'm not using it. I wanted it to come up nicely, but not have these bits that were kind of, like almost like surplus bits that you had to put up with. So tie them all around. You can see what I mean though, can't you? Hopefully, about, them being just so ridiculously quick and easy and enjoyable. I mean, I just loved, so on this one, I just literally took some fabric pieces, didn't I? And the reason was because I was putting in this little gift into the top of it. So I wouldn't even sew this in. I mean, it's up to you, obviously. But I'm not going to sew mine in because then I can still use it for other things. So it can be the gift there with the two little hairs in. It can be, oh, let me put that in there. It can be a gift again with the eggs. I mean, if I was doing this for Easter, I'd probably put a nice little Easter egg or something in the middle of there. The little buttons, obviously, I mean, who can resist buttons? Not me, that's for sure. But if you really didn't want them, so if I was giving this to somebody as a gift for a stitcher, then again, could just put in all these different, where's the other? So this one could just be in here, kind of wrapped up, couldn't it? In a little ball. I would do that. Then I would just put a little tie around it. Alright, doesn't that look nice? Looks yummy, doesn't it? So I could fill it with bits like that. The buttons, look, I would probably just put on with safety pins so that they could be taken off and used again. Yeah, and then you could have your little bits and pieces in there. Maybe old reels and things like that, couldn't you? Doesn't that just look like a lovely, lovely little basket? I think it does anyway. And as I say, I've already used that bit now. But then I would just take a strip of something, of anything, and tie it around the middle. And then another strip. It's just, I think it's really nice to use whatever you're sewing with. It's nice to use that as the wrapping as well, especially if it's little notions and things in it, because then they can use this, and it's almost like a little inspiration pack sort of thing, isn't it? And again, I would just, on the sides here, I would just put a little pin to keep it in, a little safety pin or whatever. So I think that works really well. Hundreds of different uses for that. If you didn't want to use it for bits and pieces like this, then you could have it on the table with like napkins or whatever in, couldn't you? Something like that. Or you could have it, what else could we do with it? And we could just have it with, you know, our own sewing bits in, couldn't we? So just so simple, so nice. I really hope that you might consider making a couple of these things. I reckon once you've done it once, you'll just want to keep on going. I think that's probably not just me. I think that's probably just, you know, how you'll feel at the end of it. So it was that one and this one, wasn't it? And then next time I will, or one of the times soon anyway, I will show you how I did these little bowls, because stitching is just about having fun, isn't it? And I can guarantee these are all such a lot of fun. If you want to see what I pick up, I'm hoping to go to the car boot tomorrow, so I'm hoping to pick up some bits and pieces for the garden. If you'd like to see how I get on with that, then just put a little comment, little comment in below, and I'll show you what I find. Exciting times. We'll see what happens. All right. Don't forget, if you wanted to play around with your fabric and make it a little bit more old looking like this one, then have a look at that video, because I think that's something that you'll really enjoy doing as well, just playing around with your fabric to make them look older and to feel, honestly, that just feels so nice. Right, I'm going to go and find an Easter egg to put in that one. See you next time, guys.